gamers. So we get to talk about Blue Eyes White Dragon for basically the first time on this channel as an actual deck profile, which is pretty exciting for me. I've been waiting for the support for a while, and I tested a lot of builds with the new Blue Eyes support that came out, and I ended up landing at a list that looks like this. It's more mid-rangey for sure. At first, you might have seen some of my videos before the cards came out where I was kind of hyped about this idea of Centurion Blue Eyes, and after testing it a lot in Master Duel, it didn't really do too good for me. I was kind of stuck in Diamond when I was playing that. As you can see here, I finally got to Master, and I got here completely playing Blue Eyes. So I went through all of Diamond all the way to Master playing Blue Eyes, and it went pretty well. Now, I'm not going to say that it has like the craziest win rate ever. I don't think this is like a top tier deck by any means, but I do think it's competitive. And I kind of think that it's better than Rogue. I mean, it's really, really good at playing into hand traps when you play a more mid-rangey build. You know, a lot of my wins have been like, you know, a couple wins here, take one loss, a couple wins here, take a loss. I had one really bad loss streak, which I think can happen with pretty much any deck. So I don't think that really discounts the deck as like being valid. But yeah, as you can see, I was in Diamond 1 and I went down to Diamond 2, and then, you know, it was win a couple, lose one, win a couple, lose one, all the way until I finally got my rank up. It was definitely pretty challenging. I'm not going to say that this is a deck that's going to carry you to victory, and surprisingly for Blue Eyes, it's actually kind of a thinking man's deck, I would say. I know that's probably a meme, and that's probably going to get memed, but I genuinely believe that. I think this deck takes a lot of thought, honestly, mostly because, at least with the playstyle I'm going for here with, you know, a small bestial package and a lot of hand traps, you're mostly playing this more like mid-rangey. A lot of the time, you're kind of happy if your opponent has hand traps because you get to bait out a bunch of interruption, and then you pass on like a somewhat weaker board, but you can play really, really well into just a few cards. So, you know, if you can just hand loop your opponent by making them waste their hand traps and then go in with like 2 or 3 interruption, that usually feels pretty good for this deck. So I actually felt most comfortable playing Blue Eyes when I was actually baiting out interruption and when my opponent was actually using hand traps. So it's a pretty interesting deck. I would rank it around tier 3 so far, just based on my testing, just above Rogue basically. But you know, I could understand if people consider this Rogue as well. Just from my testing, it felt like really, really good, with its main issue being that obviously it's Blue Eyes, right? It can brick, but for the most part it's actually quite consistent. And I will point out, even though I'm not running it, if you do struggle with your hands in this deck, do consider running 3 Piri Raise maps. This is going to be 3 extra copies of either Sage or Maiden, which are 2 of your essentially 9 1-card combos. And as for a general breakdown of your 1-card combos, essentially what you can do with this deck is with either Neo Kaiser, with Sage, with Maiden, you can go, or you can even sometimes go into it with Valor if you need to. You can go into your Link 1 Spirit with Eyes of Blue. Spirit with Eyes of Blue can search the Mausoleum field spell. The field spell can send a Blue Eyes to the graveyard, and then your Spirit with Eyes of Blue can tribute itself to summon that Blue Eyes. When Blue Eyes is summoned on the field, you get the graveyard effect of Maiden of White. She works a lot like Low of the Voiceless does, so she'll summon herself from the grave, so you get a level 1 tuner and a level 8 Blue Eyes monster. You can go into Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon. Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon can negate effects in the graveyard, or it can tag out into a Crimson Dragon, or it can tag out into a Ultimate Spirit Dragon. Crimson Dragon can search the Synchro Rumble, and so you have a very nice, very basic combo. If you activated Wishes this turn, which you normally can do because Maiden will set up True Light from your deck and this will search the Wishes, if you activate Wishes this turn, you can search for the Roar. If you got Roar and you summon 1 Blue Eye Spirit Dragon, that basically means that you can do the Crimson play, because essentially you'll go for Crimson Dragon, search a Synchro Rumble, then you can go for the Roar, summon the Blue Eyes from the deck, activate Synchro Rumble, summon your level 1 tuner from the grave again, make a second Blue Eye Spirit. Neither of these cards are once per turn, so with this card, you already went into Crimson. With this one, you go into your Blue Eyes Ultimate Spirit Dragon. Now, normally in the end phase, cards that you summon with Blue Eye Spirit would destroy themselves, but what you can do is, after you've summoned this guy, you can go Crimson Effect, target your level 12 Ultimate Spirit, and go into Saphir. Saphir will protect all your cards, and so they get to live on to the next turn. And even though I explained to you the general game plan of this deck, much of the time, that's not really what you're going for, because you're baiting out interruption, so you'll actually get a lot of your interruptions from like your Veilers that you're searching and just kind of playing around hand traps, trying to see what you can set up. That's what I really like about this deck. The mid-range nature of it makes it pretty adaptable, which is really refreshing. It's not really a combo deck. Well, you can play it as a combo deck, but much of the time that's not really what you're doing with this deck, at least when you play it pure in this fashion. So with that being said, we're going to go and check out all those replays. Okay, so for the first replay, I'm going to show you a pretty basic, like just a full combo, essentially, that I was describing earlier. Again, you won't always be getting the full board with this deck, but I do want to show you how to get to it because it is still somewhat common. So first thing I like to do is I usually go Lube Lion because some people ash it, and it's a good ash bait. Then I go for Sage with Eyes of Blue. I want to search my Maiden here. It is pretty important that I get it, so I am going to cross out the Imperm. And basically, it's the one-card combo with Sage, but because we have the trap in hand, we basically get absolute full setup here. So we go Sage, we link into Spirit with Eyes of Blue. Our link can search for our Mausoleum of White. We can go for Mausoleum of White, target the Spirit, and we can send Blue Eyes to the grave. Then I can activate Maiden, set up the True Light, go for Spirit with Eyes of Blue, summon out the Blue Eyes from the grave, and because a Blue Eyes hit the field, I get to special my Maiden of White from the graveyard. Then I go Magnamut, banish my Spirit to summon a Magnamut and get the effect. And here I did make a mistake. I just want to point out my misplay here because it's pretty important and really easy to avoid. I activated True Light here to set my wishes. Your Spirit, here it is, Blue Eye Spirit Dragon can negate an effect that activates in the grave. So to play around Ghost Ogre, since your opponent could like pop your True Light, and then if this card gets popped, all your monsters get destroyed, I could have just made my level 9 Synchro right now and then activated True Light. So that way, if they had Ghost Ogre and they popped my True Light and my effect in the grave activated, I could negate my own True Light in the graveyard to not get my field wiped by my own True Light. So just keep that in mind. If you can afford to, try to make Spirit Dragon and have the Spirit Dragon on the field while you activate True Light. Just an important tip there that I realized later during my grind. So anyway, we set Wishes here. Activate Wishes, discard my Veiler, and then I'm going to search a Roar and a Sage with Eyes of Blue. At this point, I can go Sage, target the Magnamut to summon a Blue Eyes from the deck. If you get to do this, it's awesome because you get to save your Roar. And your Roar, while you control Blue Eyes, allows you to actually summon back the Spirit. So I'm going to show you that line right here. So with these two, I go into Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon. We can go Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon effect to go into a Crimson. And then Crimson is going to search a spell. Search the Synchro Rumble, which will allow me later to summon one of my level 1 tuners from the grave to make another Spirit Dragon and set up my 2 level 12 Synchros, right? But since I still control Blue Eyes, right now I can use the Roar. Now, typically, you're not going to get this extra activation. Typically, with this Roar, you're going to be summoning your second Blue Eyes out of the deck. But because I was able to afford using the hand effect of the Sage, I actually get to use it here to extend even further, summon a Blue Eye Spirit Dragon. This guy loses his effect to Quick Synchro, but he keeps his effect to negate an effect in the grave. So it's an extra interruption on opponent's turn. Here I go for Synchro Rumble. Synchro Rumble, bring back a level 1 from the grave. Use these two, and we can go into Blue Eye Spirit Dragon. At this point, Blue Eye Spirit Dragon go into my Blue Eyes Ultimate Spirit. So we have a level 12 on the field. We can go for Crimson Target, summon Saphir. And this is very important because it makes it so my Spirit won't pop itself in the end phase. So we've got a Nomni, we got a Monster Negate, we got a Graveyard Negate. We have a Trap that's going to pop 2 because it pops cards on your opponent's field up to the number of Blue Eyes Dragons you can reveal on your field, in your hand, and in your grave. So this is a really good pop 2 trap, really strong. And we get to search for another Bestial. So this is a lot of interruption on turn 1. This is pretty much ideal scenario for turn 1. You have different boards that you can do. Sometimes it's going to be a Hieratic Seal instead of this. But yeah, it's a really good board. Either way, we're playing against a Millennium deck here. So they're going for Guard. I'm going to go for my Majesty, pop the 2 monsters here. They're going to go for Engraver effect, search the Tract. Then they activate Tract. That's fine. When they discard the Lurie, we can negate the graveyard effect of Lurie with our Spirit. So they go for Lurie effect. We go for Blue Eye Spirit Dragon, negate Lurie. Then they're going to go Engraver, shuffle back the Lurie, summon the Engraver. This is not a problem. They get to go Requiem, but they don't get to really do anything with this. They summon an Engraver. They equip it. We can go for our Bestial Bestial to banish the Requiem. Then they summon as Stellar. I'm going to negate and destroy the Stellar with the Saphir. They get the graveyard effect of Woes, and they just scoop it up, you know? So I think that's a really good showing, honestly, for like a turn 1. We got a lot of replays, though, so let's move on. All right, and this replay is, again, the 1-card combo. I just want to show you that you can do your whole 1-card combo with just Kaiser Seahorse. This card, at first, I really underestimated. I thought it wouldn't be that good, but this is definitely a 3 of. It's so good, especially if you're playing pure like I am here. You're going to want 3 Kaiser Seahorse. It is so strong. So you can go normal Kaiser Seahorse, go into your Spirit with Eyes of Blue. Then Spirit with Eyes of Blue can search your field spell, and Kaiser Seahorse can send to the grave a Blue Eyes or a card that mentions Blue Eyes. So here I get hit with Valor. We have 2 called by, so I'm just going to called by Valor here. I'm just going to tell you, we get hit with 2 hand traps, and I use my 2 called bys, but I think this still counts as a 1-card combo, essentially. It's just a Kaiser combo. So anyway, let's fast forward here. So what I send to the grave with Kaiser is you send a Maiden, and Mausoleum of White is going to be able to send a Blue Eyes. So here they go, Droll after I search Mausoleum. I'm just going to call by the Droll as well. And we're just fast forward here a little bit, just get rid of this animation. Okay, so we can go for Mausoleum, you know, target the Spirit with Eyes of Blue, send a Blue Eyes, go for Spirit with Eyes of Blue effect, summon the Blue Eyes from the grave, and at this point, that enables essentially our combo, because we can go Maiden, special from the grave, Maiden effect, you know, go get your True Light, place it face up, True Light, set up the Wishes. Then we already called by Valor, so we're going to discard our called by Valor to search a Blue Eyes Speller Trap and a level 1 Light Tuner. We search Sage with Eyes of Blue. Normal to Sage. Sage can search a Master with Eyes of Blue. No point in searching Valor, it's already dead. We're going to go for Roar here to summon a Blue Eyes from the deck. Use these 2 to go into a Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon. Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon can go into a Crimson. So we go into Crimson Dragon at this point, and then Crimson can search our spell. We search for Synchro Rumble. We activate Synchro Rumble, special summon from the grave a level 1 tuner. We go with the level 1 tuner in Blue Eyes, make another Spirit, and then we can go for Spirit effect, make our level 12 Ultimate Spirit, at which point we do just like we did earlier. We target it with the Crimson. My opponent's going to scoop it up here, but I just wanted to show you, like, the 1-card combo is totally accessible from the Kaiser. Next up here, I want to show you the mid-range nature of the deck. Like most games, more so go like this. So here we're going to be playing into 3 hand traps. Keep in mind, hand traps are so rampant right now in the game. So having a game plan for hand traps is super important. So here I start with Maiden of White to set up the True Light from the deck. True Light, I have to activate to set the Wishes here. I could have actually summoned Master and, you know, set up Maiden, but here I felt like, you know, if they Ghost Ogre my True Light and I don't get to my Wishes, I don't necessarily, like, it's not that bad. I already have Maiden set up in the grave. I could go Master, make my Link 1, get my field spell, send Blue Eyes, Link 1, summon Blue Eyes, bring back the Maiden from the grave. I'd still get to make a level 9 Synchro. I'd still have my Magnamud effect, you know, I'd still have some Imperms. So I didn't feel as bad if they used their Ghost Ogre here, but I could have probably played around it anyway. So here we go for Wishes, discard, try to see if we can bait Ash, and we can. They did have the Ash Blossom. It's fine. We have a good amount to at least set up a nice mid-rangey board here. So we played through an Ash so far. We go for Master to bring back the Maiden to hand, and they're going to go for Imperm on our Master with Eyes of Blue. That's totally fine as well. So that's 2 hand traps down now at this point. We can go for our Link 1. And, you know, Spirit with Eyes of Blue, really good card. We go for Spirit, search the field spell, Mausoleum of White, and they're going to go for Droll. So now we're going to go Mausoleum of White, target our Spirit, send Blue Eyes to the grave, activate Spirit, send it to the grave, summon back the Blue Eyes, and we get to trigger Low again in the graveyard. So Low summons herself. Oh, I meant Maiden of White. I keep calling her Low. What the hell? So we go into Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon, Royal, by the way, and we got an Imperm. So is this crazy? Well, it doesn't seem crazy, but keep in mind, we just hand looped our opponent for 3 cards. This card is 2 interruptions on its own, and we have an interruption here plus a Magnamud. So what we really have here is 4 interruptions into 3 cards. So I actually think this is really, really good. This is a super solid setup into 3 hand traps. So they go here for Dark Beckoning Beast. I like using Imperm on Dark Beckoning Beast. They lose their second normal, and they don't get the spell. I'm a big fan of using Imperm on this, but I'm not sure if it's like really optimal. It's just something I like doing. Here they go for Nightmare Throne. Activate Spirit of Yubel in the grave. Awesome. We have Blue Eye Spirit Dragon. We can negate the Spirit of Yubel, and I opt to banish it with Bestial Magnamud so that they can't shuffle it back for a Phantom. They chain their Max C. So in response to that, I'm going to chain my Blue-Eye Spirit Dragon to not give them 2 draws. So I'm going to give them 1 draw for Magnamut, but here at least I don't give them a draw to summon my on-field Omni Negate. So we summon our Ultimate Spirit, we summon our Magnamut. They get a draw, we get a search with the Magnamut, and we also negated the Spirit of Yubel, so they don't get to summon from the deck here. Their top deck is Engraver, which, yeah, that's a good card. They search Tracked, you know, but I'm just going to negate Tracked. At this point, you know, they can't really do anything. They can't do much of anything. What they could do, I suppose... Yeah, they scoop it up. If they had it, they could have went for Typhon here, but Typhon would not have been that good. If they went Typhon, the best they could do was bounce my Synchro, beat over my Magnamut, and then next turn, I could literally just bring back a Blue Eyes from my graveyard in attack position and beat over Typhon and go basically full combo. They would have been on a 1-card top deck to beat a full combo next turn. So, yeah, they scooped it up. Honestly, this is more so reflective of what you can expect when you're playing this deck. A lot of the time, it's going to be more mid-rangey, baiting hand traps, setting up minimal interruption, but they'll be on low cards, right? Because they try to interrupt your combo and you still got to set up a pretty decent board. All right, so just one thing that I didn't really get to show in my replays is just some of the going second stuff you can do with this deck. If you can land a Blue Eyes on the field, you have a really solid going second tool once you've baited out a bunch of interruption. So your goal going second is going to be to use a bunch of cards that force your opponent to negate you. And then once you've basically played through all the stuff they have, if you can go either Roar or use your Link 1 effect, whatever it is, whatever gets you a Blue Eyes monster on the field, essentially, right? Whatever gets you a Blue Eyes White Dragon on the field does the job. So here, we'll say we baited everything, we activated Roar to summon Blue Eyes. At this point, you can go Wishes in the grave. Even if this gets Ash, just the fact that it's in the grave is super useful for us because its graveyard effect equips your Blue Eyes White Dragon with the Neo. Which, by the way, I didn't really show this in my replays. The reason for that is because going first, I don't often set up the Neo because I keep it for turn 3 for this express purpose. So equip it with the Neo, and then with these two, you can go into a Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon as a contact fuse. So Tyrant Dragon is unaffected by trap cards, which is actually super useful, and it can attack every monster your opponent controls with 3,400 attack. If you pop one of your opponent's cards, you get to set one of your traps that's in the graveyard, so it's even useful, I'd say, like in the grind game. So if some of you were wondering why I wasn't equipping the Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon on turn 1 in my replays, this is the reason. It's because I have generally found that it's not that great, at least with the way I play the deck. It hasn't been crazy useful. Almost never came up. Turn 1, when I sent it to the grave, didn't do anything. And when I started just keeping it for turn 3 so that I could equip it and just to make a Tyrant on turn 3 for the crackback, that's been pretty damn useful. And then, yeah, like this card, obviously here, it won't be showing as much value because we're just playing against a bot, but it is just a really solid card, attacking every single monster your opponent has on the field, so that you just start cleaning up, set up a couple of interruptions, and, you know, pass back if you can't just get to lethal. This card can also really help at getting to lethal too. So just a very important thing to keep in mind for going second. Now we're going to do the card by card. So here is my list. As we go through the card by card, I'll talk about a couple cards more in detail, especially ones that didn't come up as much in the replays, just to, you know, give you some more information on the deck in general. So we're running 2 copies of Blue Eyes White Dragon. If you want to run 3, that's up to you, but I don't think it's optimal. I don't think it's necessary. You can even run just 1 if you want to. I was testing that at first, and while I did like it, just for, you know, not bricking as often, even though it's not that often either, I did have the issue sometimes where that second Blue Eyes in grind games just really helps a lot. So I ended up going back to 2, and I don't really want to go back to 1, honestly. I think 2 is really the optimal amount. 3 copies of Veiler. So Veiler in this deck is, yes, a hand trap that you can search very easily, but it's also just an incredibly strong card in its own right, just because it works as an extender. If your opponent is hand trapping you, you know, stopping your True Light or stopping your Sage or whatever, you can use your second normal summon with Mausoleum of White to just summon Veiler if you need another level 1 tuner. You can use your Veiler to make your Link 1 if you're on a kind of a weird hand. Like, there's just a ton of scenarios where Veiler is useful in this deck, outside of also just being a really strong hand trap that you can search super easily within this deck that is not once per turn. So I think Veiler should be a 3 of. I think it's basically part of the engine. 3 copies of Sage. This card can search Veiler when you need it to. Otherwise, you can search your Maiden to go full combo with it. Also, you can activate Sage from hand, discard it, and send an effect monster you control on the field to the grave to special summon a Blue Eyes. There's some cool combos with this where you can go like Sage, discard, target Maiden of White, then Maiden of White can bring back your Sage with her own targeting effect, and then Sage will summon a Blue Eyes from the deck, making it so you get a level 1 tuner and a level 8 Blue Eyes monster on the field. So yeah, this card is super good. It can also summon Jet out of your deck, which can be nice to set up at times if you can afford to. Master, I think, is really, really good and kind of slept on. And if I already had Veiler, or, you know, I had to call it by a Veiler or something like that, I would go Sage, search Master, then I'd use my second normal summon to summon the Master with Eyes of Blue, add back Sage. Sage can then discard itself, target the Master to summon a Blue Eyes. So that can come up sometimes, just being able to summon a Blue Eyes from the deck with the Sage. So I really think Master is good. Also, Master, his own graveyard effect can be useful at times, of sending an effect monster you control to the graveyard to summon out a Blue Eyes from your grave. That can also come up. So this card is a really good utility piece. I would say you need one. You definitely don't need more than one, but I really recommend running one. 3 Maiden. Maiden is full combo, similar to Sage. Maiden sets up the True Light. True Light can search the Wishes. Wishes, discard, search the Sage, and you got your full combo going. So Maiden is a no-brainer at 3. Also, coming back from the grave when you summon a Blue Eyes to allow you to get into a level 9 synchro is a major part of your game plan. So definitely a 3 of here. 2 Maxi, of course. 1 Ghost Ogre. 1, you want to cross it out sometimes, and 2, it's just a really good hand trap right now. I would run more if I had more. 3 copies of Ash Blossom. I'm running 2 Fuelos to basically run 4 Maxi. I don't think I have a good justification for running 2 instead of 3, but I don't want to run 3, so whatever. 3 copies of Kaiser Seahorse. This card is full combo, just like Sage, just like Maiden. You normal summon this card, go into your link 1, you get its graveyard effect, send the Maiden to the grave, then you can activate the field spell you search with your link 1, field spell, send Blue Eyes, link 1, summon Blue Eyes from the grave, triggers the Maiden in the grave, summon it, then you get to send it to the grave and set up your True Light and go full combo from there. So Kaiser is an obvious 3 of. It's also an extender, and there are moments where I've used either a Blue Eyes or a Lube Lion plus my Kaiser to just go into a Crimson Dragon early without having to go through my Spirit. This allows me to keep my Spirit on the field and get its really nice interruption. And then on opponent's turn, because I didn't have to send it to the grave and bring it back with Roar, I can also go into a Black Rose, which is going to be a nice removal option. So next up, we got 2 Bestials in here. We got the Magnamut and the Druid Worm, as well as 3 copies of Lube Lion. This is, you know, like some people might want to run more Bestials. Some, you know, might not want to run the Lube Lion at all and just run these names. I think Lubellion is just really good for this deck, especially the Regained being one of the only ways really to recur your Spirit Dragons. So getting to set up Regained is really, really good, especially for your grind game too. Like the grind game can be kind of rough for this deck at times. So I highly recommend setting up Regained with Lube Lion. I still consider this deck pure. Really, it's like a tiny bestial package here. We have 1 copy of Blue Eyes Jet Dragon here. This one is super debatable, doesn't come up super often, but it does come up at times, especially in grind games and against weird, like, you know, like floodgate decks or stun decks. It can come up. I like having it, and it's definitely helped me in some games, but there's definitely games where I'm just like, oh man, I drew Blue Eyes Jet Dragon. I wish I wasn't running this. So if you don't want to run it, I don't blame you. Synchro Rumble is pretty integral to a lot of your combos with this deck if you want to run the Crimson stuff. So you definitely need it. The ability to go into Crimson Dragon and search Synchro Rumble, and then later in your turn make this Synchro so that you can then go Crimson Dragon, target the ultimate, is pretty important. So I definitely think if you're running Crimson, you should absolutely be running Rumble in this deck. 3 copies of Wishes. It's kind of a no-brainer. This allows you to set up your Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon for either targeting protection or make your Tyrant, which is going to win you the game. And it's also it searches 2 of your archetype cards. It's just broken. Roar summons Blue Eyes from the deck, graveyard, banishment, whatever, but it does lock you into dragons from the extra deck for the rest of the turn, which I don't really care about. Most of my extra deck monsters are dragons. There's really only 2 exceptions here, and though these are for like really niche cases. So Roar is insane. Mausoleum of White is a must run, of course. It's what allows your Link 1 to be really good. 2 copies of Called By, 1 copy of Crossout, 3 copies of Imperm. We got the Majesty of White Dragons. If you're running pure, you should probably be running this trap. It's a pop 2 on opponent's turn, or sometimes a pop 1 if you're playing through a lot of hand traps, but it's just an incredibly important option to have, especially into Max C and stuff like that. Into Max C, you're definitely going to want to be playing a bit more, you know, like super low-key, super reserved. Maybe at most you'll give him 2 draws to make a Spirit or a Hieratic Seal, but most of the time you'll really just want to search Veilers, set up this trap, and just kind of pass it there and see what happens. So definitely want to run this trap. True Light is a must-play. You set it up with your Maiden of White, and she can actually place it from your graveyard too, so even if you discard it, you know, for like your wishes early into your turn, then you can still place it in your back row with the effective Maiden of White, so that's really strong. In the extra, we have Tyrant, as I said, for going second. Really good card. Neo can be targeting protection that you can equip with your wishes graveyard effect, and then basically when it's sent to the grave, in the graveyard it becomes targeting protection, but only for Blue Eyes monsters, which is why I haven't really been using this card for the targeting protection, mostly using this card on turn 3 to make Tyrant. Moonlight is pretty solid, only came up once for me, but I think it's still something you should be running. It's a card you can summon off of the Blue Eye Spirit Dragon, and on summon it's going to be able to bounce a monster that your opponent controls. It's not, you know, the best thing ever, but it's solid. Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss is not that great, honestly. I'm probably going to end up removing this. This is one of the flex spots of the extra deck. This is something you can make with Crimson Dragon by targeting one of your Spirit Dragons. So the idea was, like, if you want to keep a Spirit Dragon on the field but still get a non-negate out, you could go Crimson Dragon, target this, and that way, you know, on opponent's turn, you know, you could get a blanket negate of a face-up card on the field. But it's not that much better than just summoning this card, and when this card gets destroyed, it'll get you back your Spirit. So yeah, I honestly, I don't think this card is worth running. I would probably remove it. There's a couple things you can replace this with, so I'll give you some options for that too. Next up, we have obviously the 2 spirits. It's absolutely essential you play at least 2 of this, and you can even play 3, and it's totally respectable. Saphir is part of our big end board when we go, you know, full combo on turn 1. You need the Saphir because it stops your own cards from getting destroyed. So if you want to make this card on turn 1, you also want to make this on turn 1 with the effect of Blue Eye Spirit Dragon, making Crimson go into this, so that, you know, this card doesn't get popped by the end phase effect of Spirit. Then we have the Crimson, of course, and I mean, all of these are pretty self-explanatory. They're your boss monsters, right? This is a crazy Omni-Negate floating effect. And it also locks your opponent out of using Bestials on your own cards. So that's pretty useful. It does come up sometimes. Like, if they try to Bestial your card while you have a Spirit Dragon on the field, you can actually chain Spirit Dragon to summon this card, and then their Bestial just fizzles out. We have Hope Harbinger here. This card is okay. It's come up like once for me, and honestly, I don't really recommend running it. This is another one that's just a flex spot. You can run it, you can summon it, especially if you run Lubellion, but it's not necessary. And honestly, most of the time, if I have Lubellion and Blue Eyes, I'm probably going to be making a Seals, so I'd probably remove this as well. The Anima is here because our Spirit of Eyes of Blue locks us into dragons while it's on the field, so that means you can't go link 1 with this and then make SP. So if you really need an SP play going second to remove like a certain back row or something like that, you're going to go Anima with one of your level 1s and then go into SP. Otherwise, Anima can be useful also to remove a monster or to bait out an interruption on the field. This card has come up for me, so I think it's really good, and SP is just kind of like, you know, it's a useful removal card. This deck can sometimes struggle at removing specific pieces on the field, especially back row, so I think SP plus Anima makes a lot of sense for going second. We got 2 copies of our Link 1. This is a consistency card. It's pretty crazy. It helps you in the grind game as well by summoning back Blue Eyes, which triggers your graveyard effect of Maiden. I definitely think you need at least 2 of this if you're playing Pure. If you're not playing Pure, maybe you can get away with 1. And then we have Hieratic Seal, which is honestly one of the best things you can have on your end board. If you can make it early, it's even better because it kind of plays around Nibiru a bit. Now, that doesn't happen super often with the way I play the deck, to be completely honest. I've been kind of disrespecting Nibiru because I don't see it a lot, but I did get punished by that at least once on my run. So, you know, it's up to you. If you respect Nibiru a lot, probably want to summon the Hieratic Seal early and just, yeah, you know, pass on Hieratic Seal plus 1 Spirit and 1 Trap. That's like a super respectable setup you can do pretty easily within this deck. And as for the options of what you can put instead, I would recommend Chaos Angel. Chaos Angel can be made with your Neo Kaiser plus one of your Bestials, and this is a really solid synchro, but it's not going to come up crazy often, which is why I wasn't running level 10 synchros. They just, like, it just felt like it wouldn't really come up often. You can run Baron, and this is the same concept. You know, you can use Kaiser plus a Bestial to make Baron before you're dragon locked if you want to, and that's really good if you get it, but it's not a thing you're always going to be getting, so I didn't really want to dedicate extra deck spots to it. And then another good one here, another good level 10 synchro would be Dispatcher. Dispatcher is pretty easy to summon within this deck actually, and you know, it's a solid interruption. You can summon it after you're dragon locked, so these are like your level 10 synchro options if you want to run them. I don't really want to run Baron because most of the time if I get her is because I'm like not dragon locked, so it would have to be really early into my turn and probably gets negated anyway. I don't even get to it regardless. Whereas like Bestial Dispatcher, I can get this after I'm dragon locked, and Chaos Angel is just like a super amazing going second option. So that's about it really for the card by card. I'm gonna have to cut this down a lot probably because this video is already super long. I've just been yapping a lot this video. I hope it was helpful to you though, and thank you for checking out the video. I'll see you in the next one.